Welcome to the STARTALK module on how the learning plan is designed to support the development of effective lessons. This module has 3 key learning targets. First, to be able to explain the role the learning plan plays in creating effective lessons that are directly connected to the curriculum. Second, to be able to design the checks for learning for each lesson can-do statement. And finally, to be able to plan the sequence of learning experiences that are intentionally designed to allow learners to move from input to output. Why learning plans? The quote here from Stephen Covey explains why learning plans are so important. Every teacher knows what they want their learners to be able to do. Creating that plan makes it more likely that all students will reach that goal. They will begin with the end in mind, meaning that there is a clear understanding of the destination or the goal of the learning experience. It will allow us to know where we want our students to go so that we can design the lesson activities to take us in the right direction. For this reason, the learning plan is very goal-focused. It begins that process by making a direct connection to the curriculum, and does so by identifying the program can-do statement from Stage 1, the performance assessment task from Stage 2, and the lesson can-do statements from Stage 3. The learning plan then begins to create the context for the lesson. With the lesson can-do statements in mind, the instructor selects the vocabulary, determines the check for learning, decides what activities will be part of each learning episode, and finally identifies the materials that are needed for that particular learning plan. A learning plan then connects to the curriculum and creates the context for the lesson. The lesson itself is a series of learning episodes. A program determines how long a lesson will be. Each learning episode will be no more than 30 minutes. As the program moves to the actual learning plan template, they will indicate the date, the grade range, the targeted performance level, and the total time for the plan. That information comes from the curriculum, the performance indicators that were identified as part of the curriculum document, and then the total time for the plan is determined by the program. And so here you see a sample with a grade range of K2, an identified targeted performance level of novice mid, novice high, and a determination that this learning plan would last for 60 minutes, meaning that it would have no more than 2 learning episodes. Looking at, then, the program can-do statement, the performance assessment task, and the lesson can-do statements, with that in place, programs are ready to move forward. As a reminder, this is what it looked like when you wrote your curriculum. Taken from Stage 3, you see the program can-do statement to the left, the performance assessment task to the right, and the lesson can-do statements listed below. These are the lesson can-do statements that will allow learners to be successful in meeting the performance assessment task. As a reminder of that process, the program can-do statement was in place when, in Stage 3, the lesson can-do statements were decided, and programs thought carefully about the interpretive lesson can-do statements that they would use that would then anchor the interpersonal and presentational lesson can-do statements that students would use to demonstrate their learning. With this in place, the program is ready to move to the design of the learning episode. The lesson can-do statements I can recognize the names of a variety of animals, and I can recognize the names of places where those animals live, will guide the development of this specific learning episode. Next, a program begins to think about the vocabulary, the culture and content, the language chunks, the words that will be necessary for learners to experience in order to meet the lesson can-do statement. Here you can see that the choice of animals implies an embedded cultural aspect in this lesson. Those chunks of language are listed here, and then the program is ready to think carefully about the formative task that learners will do at the end of this learning episode to prove that they have accomplished the lesson can-do task. These important checks for learning allow teachers to verify that content is not just being taught, but that it is being learned and retained. They require teachers to determine clearly what learners will be required to do, say, make, or write by the end of each learning episode in order to show evidence of learning. Because every lesson can-do statement is directly aligned with a check for learning, the teacher must determine the type of check for learning that is most appropriate for each learning episode. Here, in the interpretive mode, learners are being asked to listen, to read, or to view, and to demonstrate learning without actually producing language. So as you read the list of suggested or possible activities here, possible checks for learning, you can see that they involve signaling, or holding up a picture, or reading and deciding an appropriate title by circling that title. Learners are not being asked to produce language in the interpretive, in the interpersonal or presentational modes. They are simply being asked to demonstrate that they understand the message that they are hearing, reading, or viewing. Checks for learning in the presentational mode do ask for production of language, and students will be writing or speaking. They might create an A to Z word list or write a 5-word description of a story or picture or complete a sentence. These checks for learning match lesson can-do statements that require learners to speak or write in rehearsed ways in the language. Finally, in the interpersonal mode, possible checks for learning involve interaction because students are supposed to now be able to exchange information in unrehearsed ways. And so you see suggestions of checks for learning that ask students to engage in lineups or inner outer circles to create, circulate, ask, and answer questions. With a clear understanding of the modes, then the program, the instructor, is ready to determine what is the best possible check for learning for the lesson can-do statement shown here. I can recognize the names of animals. I can recognize the names of places. And here you will see a check for learning that involves students to simply demonstrate that they can point to or hold up pictures of those animals or those places. They are either playing a game or racing against a partner to tap an image before their partner does. This allows the teacher to see that individual learners are now able to meet the lesson can-do statement. And when this 30-minute maximum learning episode is closed, the teacher will have a better understanding of what needs to come next. These lessons and learning episodes are based on authentic text to the greatest extent possible, because authentic resources, text written by speakers of the target language for speakers of the target language, are real-world examples of language. They embed culture in natural ways. And for our more advanced learners, they are being exposed to models of correct language in authentic ways. They create interest and spark curiosity as learners engage. And here, you can hear the power of the short video in introducing this little frog, native to Puerto Rico, to learners. Now, we're going to keep calm because the real art of teaching begins as we move to the learning plan. There are two possible ways to begin to design our activities. When we design our activities, we can think like an activity designer, and we can ask ourselves the question, what would be interesting and engaging activities on this topic? What would be fun to do? Asking those questions will result in lessons that are engaging for learners, but those lessons might not focus clearly on the learning experience. Wiggins and McTighe encourage instructors to think like assessors and ask the question, what tasks would show me that students truly understand and can apply new learning? Combining that question that causes us to think like an assessor with what we know about how learning is sequenced in the brain based on the work from David Sousa, we are ready to design a series of learning episodes that will create maximum learning opportunities. That learning episode begins by gaining the attention of the learner by activating prior knowledge. We want to grab their attention so that they are ready to listen or see or read or view the input that the teacher is likely to provide. This happens in the first few critical minutes of any learning episode. This is when students are learning best, and this is when the teacher will want to be working the hardest in order to make sure that there is quality input for the learning experience. No matter how good a teacher is, students will begin to move into downtime when their brains are not quite as focused, and this is the ideal time to move into the guiding and sharing part of the lesson, where learners are working together and gaining confidence, using the input that was provided and moving towards application. Finally, is that critical check for learning, where individual learners are asked to apply their knowledge in a way that allows the teacher to see that each learner is meeting the goals for the lesson. SIS Model here, where he talks about the learning episode and defines it as 20 minutes maximum, dovetails with the gradual release of responsibility model that STARTALK also focuses on when developing learning plans. The teacher is working really hard at the beginning when input is being provided. But as that lesson unfolds, the student begins to do more and more work as they move towards application. Again, the reminder is that this process occurs in each learning episode. And so we are asking ourselves, what will learners do in a 30-minute learning episode that will prepare them for the check for learning? This is where almost the art of teaching becomes part of the process, because there's no one right way to move learners from the lesson can-do statement to the check for learning. There is a right process, but the actual activities depend greatly on who the learners are. So as we think through this process, the reminder is that you think like an assessor. What tasks which show me that students truly understand and can apply new learning. How am I going to begin the learning episode? By providing input, the I do part of the gradual release of responsibility, moving to the guiding part where we do it together. The teacher is a little more involved with the students, before moving to the sharing part where the teacher is beginning to step back and see if the learners are doing it more independently, and finally to the application, which is actually that check for learning, where we make sure that each learner is able to provide direct evidence of learning. This lesson that is outlined here takes you through the steps. Again, there is a science to the process, but how you determine which activities will move students from the lesson can-do statement to the check for learning is really dependent on you and who your learners are. But you can see that the first step, the teacher is doing the input. The teacher is making true-false statements. The students are listening and signaling. The teacher, again, is showing pictures, saying sentences about animals, and students are standing up, almost collectively, with a little bit of support from their peers as they look around the room. The next activity, the teacher is again describing animals, more input, but this time individual students are showing or pointing to pictures. Finally, the teacher has posted images of land, air, and water, describing an animal, and individual students are moving or pointing. At this point in this learning episode, the teacher determines that it's time to check for learning. It is near the end of the 30 minutes, and the teacher needs to have evidence of where the learners are before moving on to a subsequent learning episode. The quote here from John Dewey, "We do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience," is a reminder that we all need to stop and thoughtfully think about our actual learning plan. So before actually implementing the plan, teachers may wish to review the steps to see if they have thoughtfully considered each aspect of the lesson, and may want to return to this learning plan checklist after teaching a lesson to diagnose what they might do in the future in order to improve the quality of a learning episode. There is a check for understanding that accompanies this module, and you may wish to complete the SelfCheck Quiz that is online for your use. There are also additional learning resources seen at the URL provided here. There you will provide a learning plan guide which goes into great detail about what was shared in short format in this module, the blank learning plan template, and the learning plan checklist for your use. I would like to conclude by saying thank you for all that you are doing to allow learners to build their interest and proficiency in other languages. And I hope you have a wonderful summer learning experience with your colleagues and students. Thank you.